The Lord did give me a vision. I don't know if you want me to share it now or later.
Yes, please do.
Okay. There was a mountain of like pine trees as I'm looking out. This mountain of pine trees off to the right, down into a valley. And this valley is filled with wheat. And there's like this road right through the middle of the wheat. And I'm standing there, and I'm not me. I think it's a man, because the hands look like man hands. So I'm assuming it's a man. And coming from like around this windy road, this person comes running toward them. And he's dressed in it almost looks like a monk, the brown robe. Mm-hmm. And he's got this bar across his shoulders, and he's got these two pails, these two buckets. And the bar is like a wood, and the buckets are wood. And he comes running to this man. And you can see what's in the buckets. It's kind of sloshing around as he's running, but it's just like this liquid gold. And the man that had that on him, he reached out for the guy's hand and opened it and made the man kind of dip his hand in it and drink it. So he did. He just dipped it in and he drank it. And then his hand was gold. The man's hand was gold, and he was looking at it. And the person who had brought the gold, he then began to pick stuff out of the fields, and he would examine it between his fingers, and he'd roll it, and he'd look at it, and he'd put it in his arm. He was facing me, so it would have been his left arm, and he would be grabbing it with his right hand, I think. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to... Anyway, so he'd pick it up and he'd examine it, and then he'd put it here in his arm, and he did that till it was full. And they were short stalks of wheat, and they were just lined up real nicely, and I thought they were wheat because they looked very nice and they looked like wheat. And so he just kind of filed them in his arm, but then he would grab a bundle and he would tie it, and this eagle came down and had its talons out and grabbed it from him. And that happened a few times till his arm was empty. The eagle would come and he'd bring it to this huge pile, this huge mountain of wheat or whatever it was. Maybe it was tares. I don't know the difference. I'm assuming it was tares because of what happens later, but it looked like wheat, which was scary. But anyway, so he comes and he grabs it, the eagle grabs it, and he just drops it, and you can see him making these trips just to drop it on top of this mountain. And then when this man's arm is empty of this tares, I guess, he picks up his little buckets of gold and he goes, and then the man is left there. And he looks off to the left, and he sees that there's these single pieces of wheat, and they're taller than the rest, and they're bigger and brighter, and then they're just sort of lone, you know what I mean? Like they're sparse and they're lone, and they're just kind of out there in the field. And then you can see them, and they actually grow up they start to like sprout flowers and trees, and they become these fruit trees. And then the man, he is there, and he is glowing in white. He's in white, and his robe is white, and it's glowing, and his skin is glowing, and he just reaches up and he just examines the apple and puts the apple in the basket. And then I just asked the Lord, well, what's to become of this mountain? Like, what's happening? So this part's strange. So this angel comes down from heaven, and he lands, and he is huge, and these huge wings, and he's holding this man in his hands, and he is like this weak, frail man who is in rags. Like he's just in rags, and he's so weak. Like the angel puts him down, and he can't even stand, and he's just like hunched over, and he's almost like bored or like tired, or I don't know if he's in pain. Weary.
Yeah, weary.
He's just like, ugh, So he's sitting there, just on like a bump on a log, and he turns to the angel, and the angel's and the angel's quiet this entire time. The angel doesn't say anything, just this quiet, strong presence. It was very beautiful. And he's got this gold like box in his hand. It's like a little treasure box, and he opens it up, and there's this like liquid in there. And so this weak man just kind of haphazardly grabs the liquid and throws it onto this pile of wheat, and just kind of, and just tosses it. You could just see him just go like, it's just, and then he has a match, and it's fire at first, and then it's like a bluish white fire. So he throws it onto this wheat, or tears or whatever, and it starts to go up an orange flame. But then from the other side, like this other whitish, bluish flame kind of takes over and consumes the entire pile. And then when I'm looking down, it looks like this ground is like scorched. Like nothing's left, it's scorched, it's gone. But then you could see that it wasn't scorched, it was soil, black soil that was really good and soft. And then the hands of the Lord came and planted a single plant right there in that soil. And just kind of moved it around. That was it.
Wow. What a beautiful vision. Nicole's vision, everything, they have different characters. So let's look at the characters. There was a man, was in the weed, in the valley. That's speaking of one that God intended to work and right to bless with. So you can look at that person as a race of Adam, a son of Adam. Then you can see the monk carry a bundle of oil. I mean, a bucket of oil, am I right? That's a Protestant movement. Martin Luther, all those used to be monk. Can you believe that? So St. Augustine, like a monk, they started a monk. All those traditions, men have a certain pious. Now what they offered is not bad. To still bless the man, reinvigorate the man, if I can see it. But the seed that the person harvested is required a certain ministry. And I represent a certain ministry. Will harvest what? Eventually is a weed, and right? Put on fire cannot endure the fire. That's where we're critical, I know, but that's not my vision. A monk carry bucket things, that is a word we will picture in Western Christianity. What are they? Speaking about a certain religious ideas, piousness, right? So,
Power off.
And that mean they not work with the Holy Spirit. I mean, the aid is work with the Holy Spirit, but they bear different fruits. So, independently, the man has to turn to another place to find what God ordained to happen. No man touch, none other blessed, but what God ordained to grow. That is the tree of life, tree, the wheat, the first fruits company. Well, the church is always a church called the first fruits.
I saw a few different things at different times. I first saw when Ben was praying, I saw him immediately before this building that just had collapsed. It was in ruin, but it was not an old building, it was a new one. Like, it was white and it was bright white, and it was like had the pillars like the old fashioned homes, like colonial. Yeah. Anyway, and it was in ruins before him, and it was right in the middle of the forest. There was nothing else there, just forest all around, and this bright white home that was crumbled to the ground. At first, Ben hit his knees like in brokenness and devastation over the loss of this broken home, broken building. And then soon comes in alongside him, and I don't know what they're talking about, but I could see soon explaining to him what went on here, and just like walking him through it and talking him through it, and I can see Ben listening and being like, okay, yeah, okay, and like fully coming to like, yes, okay, and then they embraced and hugged, and then turned the other way and walked off. That was the first thing that I saw.
Then that's Western culture, ideologies. Okay.
And then when Tim was praying, I saw this bird, maybe it was a dove. It had a scroll in its mouth, holding it sideways at first. and then it ended up eating the scroll.
But what kind of bird they describe it? The shape, color?
It was small and white.
Oh, like a dove or something?
Yeah, like a dove.
Okay. Mm.
And then it ate the scroll, and then Tim picked up the bird and swallowed the bird whole.
Well, I
Just
wish I could see that.
Consumed it. It was a little Hollywood. Just kidding. A little visual, but
I often wonder, you guys see vision like a swallow things. I think, oh, what can happen, man? So, not the cruelty, but it's a miracle.
yeah, it was
about
definitely not like disgusting. It wasn't chewing it or anything.
You need a bigger throat for that. I'm joking. So please continue.
And then after that happened, just this light went out through his entire body.
Mm.
Almost like, I can't think of it, but almost like it consumed, like it went out. It can, whatever you can physically consume this bird, it just radiated throughout your body, and light began to like come through your fingertips. And it was almost like for a moment, it separated every part of you a little bit before it came
Like
back together.
Explosive, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, explosive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a bursting out
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
And then it kind of came back.
Yeah.
And as that happened, something like came off of him, almost like something that was dark or evil or something, like a dragon or something, like something came off of him.
Mm.
And then after that, people came to him.
Mm.
So like, his hands were still out, and from that light that was within, there was two things that happened. There was one here on the right, and there was a woman on the left. And as they would come up, sort of bowing, not like in a creepy or God kind of way, but like a
Honoring.
and as they'd come up, the person on the right sort of, whatever was supposed to come off of them came completely off, so much that all that it left was bones, like a skeleton. And then the person on the right was a woman, and she was also, was almost like praying over someone, like laying hands on them. That's what it was kind of like, laying hands, like he was laying hands on them.
Yeah.
And the woman on the right also had something come off of her, but it was very like, small and faint, almost like things were meant to be coming off of these people, and they came off at different intensities.
Yes.
And hers was a little less dramatic, as if leaving only bones. From the other man was just completely, there was nothing left, but this woman was kind of just a little piece of her came off. That was it for that one.
Just speaking about the spiritual power, Tim transformed. God's going to use him to dispel dark things. Just undo the work that way. Go ahead.
And then while we were praying, I saw like a white blanket come down from heaven, like a sheet or a blanket come down and settle sort of in this little forest area. And then it was almost like a curtain from a spiritual realm was open, because it was just like, I don't know where this was open, and this light came forth, and people came out of it, and they were dressed in white, and they began to sit almost in this invisible table over this blanket on both sides of it. Like it was down here on the ground, and they came out of this curtain and came and just sat above it. And when people like gather fruit and stuff, they've got these special aprons that they kind of pin up, and then they can put stuff in the apron. I think they had something like that on, because then once they were sitting, they kind of opened that apron, and all these apples fell onto this blanket or sheet, and then that thing was gathered up. And that's as far as that got.
Very had no understanding. Is that beautiful? That's in gathering, speaking about. That's what are we doing in the sense of the spirit. The Lord told me, even if you a vision last one, and to tell everybody what he's doing. So it's that the spiritual curtain is hidden who we are. Now the sheet is revealed and in a hidden place, like that David, before David have the ark moved, there's an ark place, so it was in the wooden field. A sheet also means it's no more covered, I say, right? It's open, so it's I don't know what it's like a feast layout, So yeah, so then we partake of the invisible food of God, but everybody has their portion in the field. So I hope I'm making sense to you. I'm not sure, so yeah. Because I don't understand the vision very well, so I'm just thinking about it's the feast of the invisible wisdom of God, and the wisdom of God, which is from the invisible realm. Sorry, yeah.